Hello, Robs. We're back with Cawdor by Robinson Jeffers, a narrative poem from 1928, which is the head of this collection of verse. 12. Her voice was still roughened with an off whisper in the bruised throat, and the white of one of her eyes, grained with a drop of red, a little blood vessel had broken there when the strap drew. When she was alone, she lay pointed on the bed, stiffened to the attitude of formal death, feeling the ache in her arm, but hardly conscious of it. The hours and scenes and the form as a whole of all her life incessantly moving behind the blank, wide open eyes. She lay and contemplated it with little emotion and hardly a thought. She thought of herself as dead, although she knew perfectly that she was living, and had said to Concha, "You needn't watch me, you and Ilaria. I'll never try death again. Now I understand that to fail is the very soul of my soul. Failure is not so sweet that one who feels it beforehand will go running to meet it again. Though death is sweet, that will come in its time. When I am as old as my father, I fear not sooner. Never for the asking." She said to Concha another day, "I wish you could get Michael to come and see me, or George even. Not one soul has come in, not since the doctor was here, and death is so lonesome. I could get up, but when I begin to walk, Cawdor will send me away. You must never tell them that I can get up." This was at noon. Concha painfully made a slow thought in her mind all afternoon, and said to Cawdor in the evening, stammering because her words were planned beforehand, "She say that she is well enough to get up." "Who says?" "Oh, she." "You mean," he said, frowning, "my wife?" "Let her get up, then." She turned sadly and then said, "When she get up, you going to send her away?" "What is that to you?" Then Concha recklessly, "You keep her after she loving with Hood?" She curved her body in fear of his hand, but he took hold of her wrist and drove her up the stairway to Farah's room, who lay in the bed straightened to the shape of death and looked at them with still eyes. The scarlet drop in the white of the left one spoiled her eyes' peace. Cawdor put off the questions that had burned him to ask, and stood still and then said, "You are well enough to get up, Concha says, but you think I'd send you away." She smiled at Concha. "I wondered whether you'd do it, and then I thought you wouldn't, but it's no matter. No, you won't send me," she said to Cawdor, "for I suffered my destruction in simple innocence. Oh, certainly you'll not drink again from a mouthed cup, but the cup's not blamed. You are much too just to punish the cup. There are more reasons." His face a moment was like her father's, a scar. It formed itself to be dark metal again, and he said, "No doubt you were loving with him, and so he went mad." She thought and answered, "No, you did justice. I know what you did. You'd better send out your brown tattletales before we say any more. She'd hear and go tell, wouldn't you, Concha? Besides that, her sour odor poisons the room. I've noticed lately the living smell much worse than the dead. Oh, never mourn them. No one was ever sorry to have died." He shook his head like the bull that has charged a man and found only the vacant flapping of a red blanket, and he said, "Be straight, will you, for once? I won't hurt you. You hide in a smoke of words like lies. Perhaps," his face hollowed with terror, "it was all a lie?" "No, that can't be. You white poison. You were in the boat with him and lied. To save your skin?" He turned on Concha. "Did you see her make love to him?" But the Indian woman feared to go on. She shook her head and looked aside at Farah and shook her head. Cawdor made himself patient and said, "Perhaps a kiss, or you saw her stroking his head. He had fine hair." Farah lay faintly smiling and watched him. He looked, stooping his face to Concha, like a tall old Jew bargaining, and said, "Or you saw them. By God, you told me they kissed. You said that." She nodded her head, panting and shrinking backward, wiping her dark hands on her apron incessantly. "And Farah, she'll tell me more lies if you make more faces, and when that fails, you could pinch her arm. How can you expect truth from such people? They're all afraid of you." He looked at Concha and said feebly, If I could know, I am stupid, and things are hidden. What I have done was right, but the blood rushes me behind my eyes, and God sends chance. It all happened in the blindness of chance. Farah said quietly, "Don't talk before her." He looked at her eyes and said, "You have the secret. If I could trust you. That red drop comes from hanging and will clear up. You seem quieter in mind than ever before. Do you know where I sleep now? Hood's room. It was Concha's first." He groaned in his throat, feeling that every thought in her mind was impure. How could he fish the truth from a dirty fountain? He said, "And yet you'll tell me. It will make no difference to you, but only to me. I will do nothing to punish you. Whatever you say, nothing in your favor either." "I've told you already," she answered, "but whether you've tempted him, invited him, you egged him on, you thought he was safe, a word, or only a damn smile, women can move hell with their eyes." She closed her eyes and said, keeping them closed, "What I said that night, each word was true. You're right, though. I've still a secret. Shoo tattletales out, and then I'll tell you my secret." He said, "Concha, get out." She sighed and went out gladly, and Farah opened the door. I won't have her at the door. However, the hallway was empty, and Farah said, "I was friendly with him. He was your son and Michael's brother. I never in act, nor looks, nor thought stepped over that. Was he vicious when he was little? I never knew it. A beast lived in his blood. But no one wanted me, and now he is gone. But no one warned me, and now he is gone. That's the word, gone. You are safe to blacken him. He can't answer. If I should lie and whiten him," she said, "and say he was innocent, some stitch of his nerves in him destroyed me, but his heart was innocent, and you believed it. How could you sleep? And after a night or two, that room you have taken might seem too little for you. You are very strong. You'd hold yourself quiet there 3 nights or 4 nights, and then wander on the hills, scaring the cattle." He said gravely, "Does everyone know?" "Who told you this?" "No one," she answered. "And after a week of nights, they'd find you with those big bone fingers clenched in your throat, quiet on the hill." "On the rock," he said. "Oh, on the rock. But since, or under the rock, but since he was guilty, you can sleep sound." The flesh of his face that had sagged lately was now become firm for danger, and he asked, "How do you know these things if no one watched me?" She answered, "I know you so well. I used to be near you, if you remember, before I was spoiled. And now, lying like this," she lay pointed in the bed, her arms on her breast, "I mean alone and cut off from life. I've had leisure and power to think of you plainly. So all your acts that night stand in my mind, fixed and forever like pieces of stone. That's the way with us dead. We see things whole and never wonder at things." He said, "You lie here and dream and imagine. There's nothing in it." "So you won't send me," she answered, "to stay with strangers? I know too much and might tell. That's nothing to you. But as time darkens, you'll find me the only comforter you have, and I can teach you the way to blessedness. I've tasted life and tasted death. The one's warm water, yellow with mud and wrigglers, sucked from a puddle in the road, or hot water that scalds you to screaming. The other is bright and cool and quiet, drawn from the deep. You knocked the scummed cup from the boy's hand and gave him the other. Is that a thing to be sorry for? I know, I have both in my hands. Life's on the broken and splinted left, so I never lift it. You did kindly, not terribly. If you were wise, you'd do as much for yourself. If you were loving, you'd do as much for me." He stood and listened and said, "Is that all?" She nodded. "Then it's not much. I see there are two of us here twisting in hell. Smile as you like." "Why, yes," she answered. "By the left arm, that's true. But I'd taste both." He was leaving the room, and she cried after him, "Oh, my dear, dear, be merciful. Life is so tough to cut. I never would have dreamed. I fail, but nothing stops you." He went outdoors and felt a seeming irresistible desire to go to the foot of the rock and lie with those stones on the soft earth, his mouth whispering against it. But now He must never give in to any desire, strain the iron forever, never do anything strange, for even now their eyes followed him strangely. No matter, they'd keep in subjection. They might have watched it and not dare speak, but a pity of little Michael, the stars and the sparse boughs, the skies are never darkened any more. A naughty glitter, how does one commonly spend a winter evening? Not letting the stars glitter through the split boughs, he entered the house and sat down. Strain the iron forever. He had strength for that. Farah had little strength, and the long hollow night coming looked unendurable. Her right arm was flung free of the cover and lay bent on her eyes. After a while, her teeth found the wrist. Ugh, what was this? She raised it and saw the yellow and brown scabs of the laceration where she had gnawed it before. In the morning, when Concha came in to serve her, she said, "Did you believe in heaven and hell when you were little? Today I'll get up. I've had enough of this bed. You'll help me dress, because you know the dead rarely come back. But I died and came back, and I can tell you more than the priests know. Dying's not bad. Oh, bad enough, but you can stand it. You have to. But afterwards, she moaned. Her tight, small fist crept up to her cheek and trembled there. She was playing a comedy. She played it so well, her own flesh suffered and chilled. Death is no sleep, Concha. Death is eternal torment and terror for all that die. Neither is there any heaven for anyone. I saw my father there crying blood from the hollows of his blind eyes and tearing his beard with his hands. He said, "Oh my God, have you come, Farah? Whoever dreamed that death could be worse than life?" I said, "It is so," and all the crowd of the dead began moaning, "It is so." But then you managed to make me breathe with your hands and I could come back. They said to me then, "Never tell any living person what death is like, for if they imagined what it's like, for they all must come, how could they live?" Who'd not go mad with fear to feel it approaching? Oh, Concha, hug life with tooth and nail, for what comes after is the most horrible, and no end, no end. Come here and help me. We'll have to slit down the sleeve and pin it over the shoulder. I didn't tell you to scare you, Concha. Don't think about it. Ah, no, or we'd sit screaming. I wasn't going to tell you, but then I thought that you can bear it as well as I can. After the trick you played me last night, my rival. Live forever if you could. Oh, it was frightful. And that's the end of 12. Wonder how long 13 is. Kind of want to finish this tonight, but it's pretty damn late. It's damn late, buddy. All right, that's all for now. Goodbye, bruv. Goodbye. Listen to that wind. Can you hear it? All right, goodbye.